Hello everyone. Jody and Cynthia and Mary and I would love to welcome all of you to our mom's 100th celebration. She would have been 100 years old today on May 22nd. And she didn't quite make it, but that's okay. We're going to celebrate anyway. And thanks to all of you for all the wonderful memories that you submitted to us. Thank you, thank you. They're just wonderful. I'm excited for you guys to see them. And another big thank you to Heidi and Vince Girasoli in Chicago, who put this together and created a memory book for all of us to enjoy. So sit back and enjoy, celebrate, reminisce, and pay tribute to a grand lady. She loved all of you so much, and family was just so important to her. So have a piece of cake. She loved white cake, and if any of you had her margaritas, they were wonderful too. And if not, grab a pickle out of your refrigerator that she maybe made for you and you still have. But anyway, thanks so much. Happy birthday, Mama. We love you so much and we miss you every single day. Now, if you have comments at the end of this and it's all over and you want to comment, we'd love to hear your feedback and hear from you. So make sure you do that and look forward to seeing a documentary on Patricia Valdez and a slideshow on Patricia. So thanks to all of you. We love you and let's celebrate.
The times have changed so much in the way we live, how we live, where we live, what's happened in the world, that actually, to me, it's a little bit hard to sound real sensible. But I think that first thing I would say is always try to be optimistic. Try hard not to complain. Family togetherness, I think, today is even more important in the way it's done than when I raise my kids, because they've got so many things to contend with that are scientific and that are good, but also maybe bring along with them some hard things to deal with. Please be kind to each other. A lot of you won't get to know each other real well. There's so many and you're scattered, but some of you won't even know each other maybe, and that bothers me. I hope if you do see this, you'll know that I'm proud to have every one of you.
Aloha, everyone. May is a month that's always been very busy for me and my family, and one of the ones that when we honor our mother on Mother's Day. So this will be the first day, Mother's Day, in 80 years that I haven't been celebrating with Mama in one way or another. I miss that. It's hard to pick one thing that she taught us, but I will pick the fact that she loved crochet, knitting, and sewing, and she wanted to make sure that we had that in our lives. And to this day, we all do. Thank you, Mama. We miss you.
everyone. This is Cynthia. And you know, I've been thinking, what kind of memory could I share? There are so many that I could share that I have with Mom. But you know, I got to thinking one of the most wonderful things that happened for Mom was the gift of Greta here, who's trying to be a movie star. But anyway, she was a gift to Mom from Stan and Robert. And they were the best of friends. If Mama went someplace, Greta went. If Greta went, Mama went. And Greta would even try to get Mom to come on her walks, and she would sit by the mailbox as I was trying to take her for the walk and keep looking back to see if my mom was coming. But of course, it was just a walk for her and me. And one other thing that was kind of funny in the years that we've had Greta with Mom was when Mom fell her second time with her hip. I tried to put a pillow under Mom's head while I was waiting for Jerry and Polly to come over. And Greta jumped on Mom's chest and she went at me, telling me that she was in charge and that she would take care of Mom. And they were just, I would walk by her room and hear Mom telling Greta things, and I thought if Greta could talk, she'd be telling us a lot of things. Anyway, it was a wonderful gift, and it was a gift given to Mom from Stan and Robert, and it was a real blessing for her in her later years. And so thank you, Stan and Robert. And happy birthday, Mom. I know you're up there somewheres.
I'm sitting in my treehouse remembering all the nice tea parties Mama and I had up here, and it wasn't always just Mom and me. Sometimes it was with some of our friends, the sewing ladies, neighbor people. We had a great time. She loved to climb up the circular stairway, and she'd bring her tea and her phone and her knitting and her book. I'd wrap her sometimes in an Afghan, and she'd spend 2 hours up here promising me that she would call me before she wanted to come down, and then I would help her down. But she went up even, let's see, the last time was when she was 98. She didn't go up this summer, but last summer she did. This summer she was 98. Good memories.
From Durango. Here are Mama's little solar bobbers in my window, and they remind me every morning of her. She just loved these. She had so many of them, and she gave many of them away. And right below that, I have the memorial that's going to be going into the garden in a great big pot of petunias and marigolds and snapdragons, some of her favorite flowers. This is Mary from Durango.
I'm in Mom's she shed here, and I think back in Hawaii, and I remember going to the beach and on the 4th of July and looking out on Flat Island and seeing all the beautiful fireworks and roasting weenies, as she said, on the beach. And then when we moved to Flagstaff, I remember the camping in the Chinook. I remember when she would have dinner parties and she'd tell us to get out there and circulate and talk to people, girls, Marion and I. And then she taught us how to sew and crochet and knit, and she made so many dish rags that all of us were recipients of. And then here's her pickles. This is one of her last batch. It is her last batch of pickles, and I'm proud to have it with me. And I think about how she chose my profession. And that's the one thing I wanted to share with you. When we were in the car together and I was a senior in high school, we were driving from Flagstaff High School over to East Flag. And she said, Polly, you're going to go to NAU. What do you want to do? What do you want to study? And I said, oh, I don't know. And she said, well, Mary's going to be teacher. Why don't you be the nurse? And I said, okay. And the next day I was enrolled in the nursing program. So thank you, Mama, and happy birthday, and I think about you every single day.
When I first met Patricia, whom I affectionately called Mama, she was welcoming and likable. I admired her strong work ethic, driven by her love of family and friends. She was a good role model. Generous and kind-hearted. Mama was delightful to be around, and she was funny too. When I asked her to tell her other son-in-laws that I was her favorite, she instead told each of them that they were her favorites. Anyway, with that, I say cheers, Mama.
Mrs. Valdez. I've almost always used that term with her. Some of my favorite memories of Mrs. Valdez are when she, her dog, myself and Mary would go camping up at one of the beautiful lakes north of Durango, the same lake that she and Mary would go kayaking on. We would take short hikes. We would visit with the other campers. Sometimes we tried fishing. Sometimes we would entertain other family members up there. And sometimes we'd just sit around the campfire and tell stories. And she had many, many great stories to tell. At bedtime, she, her dog, and Mary would retire to the comfort and the safety of our warm little fiberglass camper. I would retire to a cool, flimsy cloth tent and spend the night dreaming of campground bears.
Hi, Grandma. We miss you. Happy birthday. I still think about the days when we used to go on Memorial Day or Labor Day, go up to Colorado and ride in the streets there in the parade, and you'd ride behind me on the motorcycle. Remember how much fun we had? And I know you looked forward to that, and you always thought that was great. I always was impressed to see somebody of your age riding on the back of a motorcycle. Anyway, happy birthday, and we miss you very much, and we love you. Bye-bye.
Hi, this is Jürgen and Sachko. I remember when, it was just a few years back, we were all gathered together in Peoria to attend one of Patricia's many birthdays. And several of us got up and made speeches, and I missed the opportunity at that time to openly thank her for having invited me to join her and Mary and Polly in Flagstaff to attend Northern Arizona University. And I did have an occasion just a few months back to write her a letter, and where I did thank her for having made me a part of her family and allowed me to attend school in Flagstaff with her and her two girls. I often wonder what might have happened had she not extended that invitation to me at the time I was living with my brother Hans in Los Angeles, parking cars at the Pink Pussycat on Santa Monica Boulevard. So that might very well have been my future.
So if she hadn't invited Jürgen, we would have, Jürgen and I would have never met. But we have a family now with two wonderful boys. And I always admired her sense of adventure. Hi, Wilbur. And even a few years back, she surprised me by climbing up Mary's steep circular staircase to her treehouse to have tea with me. And she was always a wonder for me. And and I miss her a lot.
I'm Laura Minier, coming to you from Rimrock, Arizona. I'm Patricia's oldest granddaughter, and even though I didn't get to grow up with her in my early childhood as one of her grandchildren, I got to know her in my adult life, and I'm very thankful and blessed that I was able to do that. She always had wonderful stories to tell about her life and times, and it was always fascinating to sit with her and visit and have a cup of tea in one of her beautiful teacups and listen to some of the history that I missed out on in earlier life. I'm so blessed to have known her.
My first recollection of Grandma Valdez was when she came to our home in South San Gabriel, California. I believe I was just 3 years old, but the snapshot memory in my head was of her sitting on the bed in the side bedroom, with brown shutters behind her when she handed me a rag doll with sparkly black button eyes. This handmade rag doll would become my most treasured possession and my dearest little confidant and friend. My Raggedy Ann somehow holds all of my happiest and my most painful memories behind those sparkly eyes, and she is still part of my everyday life, 55 years after my grandma made her for me. Patty Valdez Yarbrough.
I don't have a lot of memories of when I was 3. I know I got Raggedy Ann from Graham when I was 3. I remember sitting on a back porch with a little door behind it. I'm guessing it was Flagstaff, but I remember that feeling. I remember when she came to stay at my dad's for a while in her little Winnie something. I remember Winnie on that thing, so that was fun. When she came and brought all sorts of genealogy, and she brought the Raggedy Ann and Andy patterns, and she stayed for days, and we just made copies and copies, and she told stories and stories about our family, both those that have passed and those that are alive. Profound memory for me and a game changer for me. Happy birthday, Graham. I love you.
Happy birthday, Grandma. I am so, I have so many memories. I'm not sure which one to choose. Anyway, I think I'm going to run with the idea that you were my mentor and taught me how to thrift. We would go to all the thrift stores together everywhere. Flagstaff, Kailua, Durango, Chicago. When we went to visit Heidi, we found them. Her favorite strip was in, what's it called? Sun City. And there would be a whole strip of shops that we would go to, and she'd always find something wonderful. And she taught me how to be a good thrifter too. When I was a very small child, my favorite memory is that she would wash my hair. She'd lay me on the counter, put my hair in the sink. I don't even know. I must have been, golly, very young. But she'd squeeze lemon, fresh lemon on it afterwards. And she always told me that that was going to keep it blonde, blonde, blonde. So these are just a couple of the things that I will always treasure. I miss you so much, Graham, and I love you. And happy heavenly birthday. You're 100. That is so awesome.
Yeah, I remember when Cece and I and the kids driving from Scottsdale to Flagstaff to get a train to California. Well, I got lost. And by the time we got back to Flagstaff, we were pressed for time, and Grandma had prepared a roast beef dinner with all the fixings for us, packed up and ready to go. And I was very impressed. So that's one memory that kind of stood out for me. So thanks for the great memories, Grandma, and happy birthday.
Happy 100th birthday, Grandma. I wish you were here to celebrate, but I know you are in a better place. One of my fondest memories with you was making tamales the traditional way, your recipe, in Auntie Mary's kitchen. I'll be thinking about you always. We try to make them about once a year.
Aloha, everyone. I am very blessed to have had Graham in my life as my Calabash grandmother. I did not have grandparents growing up. My grandparents lived in Germany and England. We got to see them a handful of times as I was growing up. And they may have even come to Hawaii a couple times, but I did not have grandparents in my life. I had Graham. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. We moved to Durango, where we've raised 3 children. Fortunately, Mary and David were here, and that meant Graham came a lot. And there are so many moments that I can remember with her, cooking and baking and just sitting outside and having a glass of wine. And I am forever grateful for having Grandma in my life, and I'm really gonna miss her presence.
I remember so many lovely things about Grandma. She was a great person and always has been a presence in my life. I will especially say that I remember her relationships with all of her little friends, her dogs. First off was Pompidou. That's the one I first remember when Cece and I lived with Grandma in Flagstaff when I was 6. The interesting thing was when I went back for college at NAU, Pompidou was still there and was there for quite a long time after that. But the way that Grandma always made her dogs part of her life will always stick with me. Love you, Gram, and miss you.
I married into the family, and I always remember how comfortable Grandma made me feel to be around with everyone. And I'd love to see how excited she got when visitors were coming, how she would prepare for the moment, and how when someone arrived, she was actually there, ready to take them down, sit beside them, find out what was new in their life. And I also thought she was one of the best storytellers I ever met, whether she was talking about evacuating Hawaii during the Second World War or describing this gift of a cooking set that she received from her husband that she didn't quite like too much, or just the beautiful way she described how Werner and JoFay got together and how the family began to grow from that point. Just a wonderful person. I feel so blessed that she was in my life.
Hey Mom, I feel like some jam. Jam? Yeah, give me jam. What kind do you have?
Apricot.
Okay, show me. Oh,
It's
damn.
a limited version.
That's sick.
Take it up.
Who is that on the front?
It's my grandmother.
Tell me about it.
On May 22nd, she's going to turn 100. And I always told her that when she turned 100, she would make it onto the Smucker's jar.
That's sick. You want to crack open a jar?
For sure.
All right, let's do it. May 22nd.
What I remember about your mother is that she was exceptionally sharp, far into her 90s, a very successful model of aging appropriately and cognitively being super intact. She could talk stories forever, but she also had an exceptional memory for details with respect to her family members. And then the second thing I always remember about her is when I decorate the Christmas tree and there's ornament after ornament that has her name and face on it. All the best, Gigi.
Well, hello there. So my grandma's story is when I was 5 years old. That would be 49 years ago. I was in her yard in Flagstaff collecting rocks. And Pompidou was there, and I still have the rocks. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well.
My favorite memories of Grandma Valdez were Thanksgivings and Christmases where all the cousins would show up, and we just had a grand old time, but we were sprawled all over every little room. It was like a little cave warren for wombats or something. The smell of food all over the place for Thanksgiving, and then parents stepping over kids and moving around and the fire crackling. It's one memory of Gram that I'll never really lose and I'll always cherish.
My fondest memories of Grandma have to be with some of the times that we spent in Flagstaff at her house, which were just wonderful. Her house was always cozy, it was always welcoming, it was always wonderful. And these fond memories come around when we were young kids. Couldn't even tell you the age, probably maybe 4th, 5th grade, something like that. I don't know. We had been out, we came up to Flagstaff, and I believe it was around Easter time, and I'll tell you why that's significant here in a few minutes. So we were in Flagstaff, my brothers and sisters and I and my mom came up, and we were there having a wonderful time. We were playing on the rocks all day, and I remember I was starving, so we came in and dinner wasn't quite ready. And look, I remember Grandma having tables set up everywhere in our house. I mean, there was tables in the living room and in the little study room, and there were tables everywhere. She was so welcoming, and she had such a warm and cozy home in that tiny little kitchen she's cooking. And we were hungry. I remember we were asking, and so Grandma's like, "Oh, well, you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" We're like, "Great, that's fantastic. Like, who doesn't like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?" So, and remember, it was Easter time. So one of the things that happened was instead of using grape jelly, strawberry jam, anything like that, Grandma made us mint jelly and peanut butter sandwiches, which to this day, I will not eat mint jelly. And if I remember right, she was making lamb or something, and the mint jelly went with the lamb. But I can tell you right now, it is not a good peanut butter and jelly substitute. But she was, again, her home was always so welcoming, and I just remember so much fun there. And lastly, I remember she was a voracious Scrabble player with a knowledge of words that would just baffle you. And she would come up with a word like xenomorph, and then, oh, is that a triple word score? And it's like 156 points or something, and just crush everyone. So those are my wonderful and fond memories, just how smart she was, how wonderful inviting her home was, how cozy things were. Those are the things that I remember about Grandma.
Gigi, in 20 seconds. Well, honey, you got your job done. You taught us to love each other, to be family together, to enjoy music, to sing, to camp, to love our food. Your Chinook, cheese whiz on Triscuits, getting my nails done, fancy brunches, being beautiful, and being a family.
It'd be hard for me to recount ways that Grandma didn't influence my life. For my love of the outdoors, my love of the forest, Flagstaff, my love of the desert, driving from Utah to Flagstaff with her in the Chinook, my appreciation for the symphony when that was her career, and also my appreciation for art and antiques. Her stamina for art and antiques well outlasted mine, even when it was my career. I remember going to the flea market with her one time, showing up at 6 a.m. with flashlights, and when it was time to go, Grandma was still ready to go at 3 o'clock, and everybody else was petered out by 3. I really miss her.
Well, everything for Gigi and my greatest and fondest memories were all associated to Flagstaff and going up to her house and the tall trees and the pines, walking up to the house and going inside and smelling all the food cooking and stringing cranberries and popcorn and listening to Saturday Night Fever for the Christmas tree. And then in the spring and the summer, getting in the Chinook and sleeping overnight in it before we would leave on an early morning trip. All fantastic memories.
Oh, Grandma. Do you remember those days we paddled up the river? You would hobble down to the water's edge and we'd lift you into the kayak. And then we'd glide away into the glassy afternoon. You like a queen in the front seat on your throne and me in the back with the paddle. How special to share that liquid world with you. Thank you, Grandma. I miss you and love you.
Happy birthday, Grandma.
Happy birthday, Graham. We love having you for the summer and having you come watch us down at the river and hanging out with you.
Bye, Graham. Love you.
Love you. Happy birthday again.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Graham. I got lots of memories. It's hard to pick just one. I'd have to say tea parties in the treehouse and naps in the treehouse. And also the time we had fried trout and you made us eat the skin because it was the best part and we had to eat it. And I liked it. Love you so much.
Good morning. Happy 100th birthday, Graham. We miss you so much. I have so many memories of you, especially since you spent most of your summers in Durango. One of my most favorite memories is you coming out here to see the flower farm, and I wish you could have seen that big greenhouse in the background. To everyone else, we love you. Hope you're doing well. Bye.
Hi. So here I am outside by Costco, actually in front of Costco, taping this again for everybody so I can have it right. What I remember about Gigi the most, boy, there are so many things, I could never list them all, but I'll tell you what, she was an amazing woman, and I am so grateful I was able to stay with her. I was able to live with her and travel with her and learn so many things from her. She taught me how to crochet, how to knit, and qualities from her have come into me, and I am so grateful for all of her examples. One of the funny stories that I can remember is when we went on a trip to Canada and went to Montana to see Aunt Mary and be able to have a good time there, and she got in a bathtub that was a tin old-fashioned tub, and I'm sure everybody's seen the picture, but it was so funny. The memories I had from that trip will never go away. We love Gigi so much, and we wish her a happy, happy birthday. We love you, Gigi. Bye.
It was May of 2008 when I first met Gigi. It was her 88th birthday party at Jerry and Polly's house in Scottsdale. And when I met her, she was an amazing woman, and I knew that I was going to love to spend the rest of her life learning and talking to her and seeing what an amazing person she is and was. I will miss you, Gigi.
I remember when Grandma's house in Flagstaff would always smell like coffee beans. And I always remember giving a grandma kiss and knowing it was always going to be reciprocated with a wet one.
You know, I didn't get to spend very much time with Rams, but the time that I did, I really enjoyed it. There's one thing that I remember is that she was extremely positive. She had this extreme positive energy about her, and she had this unique, innocent sense of humor. And the one time that I remember, it was during, I believe it was Christmas, and she had gotten a brooch, and she picked it up, and she said, "Look, it's a choker." I'll never forget that. Noelle and I laughed the whole way home, and she was a very special person. She'll be missed.
Hello, Grandma and everybody else. It's good to be doing this. I'm glad to say that I remember all the great food that Grandma used to cook, the Chinook and Pumpy-Doo, and going to Flagstaff for all the holidays and fun times with the family. We'll miss you this May, Grandma. We love you a whole bunch, and we know you're with us.
Sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. And I hung my head and I cried. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. And I cried and I cried. Oh, the skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
I remember when Gigi helped me sew my one and only quilt. It was such a tedious project. However, I love the memories that I associate with that learning experience. I also love that I was able to have a special relationship with her and email her so late in life and be able to stay connected.
I remember the last time I saw Gigi, I was driving with my boyfriend David and our friend Ben through Colorado, through Durango, and we got to see her, and we stopped at her house and had a lovely time with her and Aunt Mary, and I will always think about that memory. And also chilling by the pool with her and Stan and Robert and her little dog, of course.
One of the things I remember about great grandma is how she would always send us really nice handmade ornaments with her picture on them for Christmas every year, and they're still on our tree every year, and that's really nice. And I also remember how amazing she was at telling stories, whether it was a story about great grandpa Valdez, which was always so hilarious, or a story about her talking about experiencing Pearl Harbor firsthand and the whole aftermath of that. It's totally captivating every time. Just really an amazing storyteller, and I feel like there are a lot of good storytellers in our family, and it's nice to know that that's something that comes from Gigi.
Gigi is my grandma. I remember her being compassionate, and my favorite moment of her was when she was on the sofa with her dog, and she devoted all her time, attention, and care to this one dog, and they were just playing with each other, and she seemed to really be enjoying one of the simpler things in life, which is something that I personally, and I believe a lot of us, could learn from.
I have many memories of Gigi, but the two that come to mind are watching Sound of Music and eating the really good jam that she made. Gigi knows I love her. Happy 100th birthday.
Memories with Gigi. Maybe like 10 Christmases ago, she gave all of the Fields kids a little like figurine, like this big, and I got a camel, and she said it was good luck and to always keep it with you, and so I did, and I still have mine. I actually gave it to Sawyer to take with him when he went to boot camp to give him good luck and survive all that, and yeah, so memories with Gigi.
I remember when I painted her nails for her Halloween party that her and Aunt Cindy went to, and she dressed up all scary as this like gory doll, and she wanted her nails done for it, and I went over with my Grandma Rencher, and I painted her nails, and it was a really small, pretty moment.
Hi, we're Kaylia and Kira Rencher. We are Gigi's great-grandchildren, and we remember spending lots of holidays with Gigi, like Christmas, and we also spent those with her and the family.
We especially remember one time when she was gifted a tiny teacup, and she was so excited, and we all thought it was pretty funny. We miss you, Gigi.
Love you. Happy birthday.
Okay. All right. Tell me about Gigi.
Gigi is the best. Really the best.
And why do you love her?
Because she was great and she read me some stories and I wanted her to stay alive, but she died. My sunshine, your only sunshine. You make me happy when the stars are gray. You'll never know this. How much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
I remember Trish recounting her memories of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. She said she went outside, she had a coffee frying pan with eggs in it and looked up and watched them go by, not really knowing what was happening, but she could hear the thump of bombs and so forth. And then she and Sonny and her two.
Probably 3 kids by then, don't you think?
Trish's sons.
Patrick
and JoFay came to the States on board the Lorraine ship.
Did she go with them?
Yes.
All right, hi everybody. I'm at my office. I just want you to see the grandchildren before I start your cruise and Jasper. So my memory of Aunt Trish, 2 memories really, that I wanted to add were that she was the first woman I ever knew who went to a gym when she was in her 50s, I think, and I was in late high school. And my mother kind of gave the eye roll about that, but she did. She worked out and she stayed healthy, and of course, almost made it to 100. The other thing is, just wanted to say, I use her little bookmarks all the time. I have since she sent them in her Christmas card, and I love them, and I don't think I ever said thank you, but now I am. So thanks very much. I hope everybody is good. Thank you. Bye.
Hello. This is just an older version of Cindy Wynn. I want to give a memory that I have of Aunt Patricia. I remember her story of after Pearl Harbor, because she was pregnant, she had to wear a hard hat when she went out of her house. I don't know why, but I guess there was a purpose there. I also, every time I use them, remember her by her wonderful crocheted dishcloths. I still use them today. Thank you. Bye.
When Patricia was about 17 and I was 6, she was actually 16, 17, and she came to spend the summer with us up in Miami, Arizona. And every night, day and morning, she had a date. She slept with me, so in the morning she'd get us both all ready, and off we went. We went boating, picnicking, movies, with all different good-looking guys. I didn't realize I was a 6-year-old chaperone. But then the next summer, we were in Tucson, and Ronnie Perry, my cousin, and I were out playing in the yard when debonair, charming, handsome Sonny Valdez came to pick Trish up, and he said to us, "Hey, do I look all right to go out with your Aunt Patricia?" And Ron said, "Are your fingernails clean?" Because he's really picky about fingernails. Well, of course they were clean. But that was when they eloped. And I didn't see Tricia again for almost 5 or 6 years. I asked my mother, "Is Patricia, Aunt Trish, my sister too?" And she said, "In spirit." And I said, "What does in spirit mean?" And she said, "When you love somebody, they can be anything you want them to be. That's spirit." Yes, Aunt Patricia was my sister.
Hello, Frank McClure here. Aunt Patricia, one of my fond memories of Aunt Patricia was at Pina Blanca Lake in southern Arizona, probably 30 years ago, 40, 50 years ago, I don't know. But she pulls into the campground with her little Chinook camper Toyota truck, and JoFay was there from Hawaii, and we had a great camp out, and just these two little old ladies coming in there with their campers was kind of cool, and sitting around the campfire telling Aunt Patricia's story. She's the best storyteller, right? So anyway, that's one of my memories, and I love her and miss her, and everybody stay safe. Peace.
I remember Aunt Patricia coming to Tucson, and she stopped by the roadside to pick some glowed mallows. During her stop, a police officer pulled up and told her that she was breaking the law. But luckily for her, they let her off. But when she got to Tucson, she told us her story about her adventure, and she just had us all laughing. She always told a great story. So I love you, Aunt Patricia, and I miss you.
I remember when I was in college at NAU, when I was feeling homesick and lonely, I would walk over to the music department where my Aunt Patricia worked, and she was able to offer me the comfort of family that I miss so much. I would leave her side feeling so loved. I realized that she spent her whole life showing that love to each and every one of us. She had the amazing ability to make her family feel special and cared about. And there are a lot of us in this big family. I don't know how she did it. I can picture her now with a lap full of little dogs, knitting a dishcloth for my dad, and she's surrounded by family and continuing to make them feel that same love that we all experienced when she was here. On second thought, I hope there's no need for dishcloths and doing dishes in heaven. Maybe she's knitting halos. Anyway, I sure love being a part of this very big family, and I sure loved my Aunt Patricia. Bye-bye.
Ron loves sharing stories in Phoenix. He said before Trish was too busy bringing up all those kids. I loved her flair, Hawaii in the desert, dancing conga line in her 80s, confessing she got up hungry at 3 a.m. and ate a whole chocolate cake, her pickles at Christmas. Add them to the cookbook. Much love, Carolyn and Ronnie.
Aunt Trish shared so many memories about my father which I had never heard before. My father didn't always share these details, which were somewhat hilarious and maybe even embarrassing to him. I enjoyed all of it, however. Back in the 70s, while working for Westinghouse, I had assignments out of Flagstaff, and I would always try to visit with your mother, and she would inevitably insist that I come for dinner. I couldn't refuse her. These were always most enjoyable moments. I know that her passing has left a large hole in your lives, and it's left one in mine also. I also loved her dearly. Wayne Perry.
In 2005, Trish asked me to make a bookmark, and on it she said, "Faith, family, and friends were the bedrock of our lives. For each treasured and dearly loved family member and dear friend, I thank God for blessing me with your presence in my life."
Hi, we're Peter, Dana, Ruth, and Esther Perry, and Trish was my great aunt, and we're just so happy to share some memories.
So the memory that I have of Aunt Trish is in 2004, we moved from Mesa to Chicago. And when we moved, Aunt Trish gave us this teapot and a note. And I would like to read you the note. Dear Dana, Peter, and girls, well, here you go, off on a new goal and adventure. And indeed, it looks so promising for the both of you. I want you to know that it has been a special pleasure to live near and watch your little family grow and to get to know you. I treasure the many times we've had at your family gatherings, in your parents' home with the Perry clan. I'll be keeping in touch through your folks as to your progress. My family is so large that it is sometimes hard to keep up to date with all their lives, but we do try. But one thing for sure, families are true blessings, and I count them each day I still am here. Family is where it starts and ends. I happen to collect teapots. Show me a teapot and I feel comfort. Some of my best praying is with a cup of tea. I just sort of feel God sits there with me, guiding me. Maybe this small brown teapot from Japan, taken from my collection, will give you pause on a cold winter day to take time out for a cuppa, as the English say, just to punctuate a happy day or renew a weary spirit, as the case may be. I truly wish you all joy and success in your endeavor and look forward to seeing you again. With love and prayers, Aunt Trish.
When I think of Aunt Trish, the first memory that comes to mind is at her 90th birthday party, where my sister and I both went swimming in the pool with our clothes on because we didn't have any swimsuits and we wanted to have fun and enjoy the day with everyone else. I hope to live as long and as well as Aunt Trish did.
Hi, I'm Peter Perry, and I'm thankful for Aunt Trish. Now, technically, she's my great aunt. She's my father Wayne's aunt, but I grew up with her, my father, and everybody else calling her Aunt Trish, and so of course I call her Aunt Trish too. And I'm thanking God for Aunt Trish today for the way she was a listener and a storyteller and a gatherer. From my very first years, I remember her being such a listener. Whether we were gathering for some kind of family event at the Fletcher's cabin at Holly Lake, or whether we were at Uncle Fred and Aunt Cindy's house in Flagstaff and she was there, or we were at some event in Tucson and Aunt Trish was there, I just remember her listening to me, a little kid. You have to imagine a room, a house full of people talking and laughing, sometimes music. There was eating and drinking and lots of sound. And it would be really easy just to ignore the little kids. But Aunt Trish, I remember her always listening in those gatherings, that she was interested in what I was doing and what I was thinking, and would ask me questions and that showed that she really cared about me. And this had a deep impression on me that this woman, this person who was so respected in the family, would listen to me, a little child. And throughout my life, I experienced that in many different occasions with Aunt Trish. Even the last time I saw her, and she was sitting in the shed behind Polly and Jerry's house, going through boxes of her things. And I sat with her, and I wanted to hear about her. And I wanted to talk to her about how she was feeling and doing, but she wanted to talk about me and hear what I was doing and my children and my family were doing. And it just underlined to me how Aunt Trish was a person who listened and who cared for people. And so I'm thanking God for her listening. And I'm thanking God for her being such a great storyteller. I hope all of you who are watching this video have heard her tell stories. She had a magical way to tell stories that brought them to life with vivid details and told stories with such life to them that I can't even begin to approximate them for you right now. I wish I could have some of that skill to share with you. But she told great stories, whether it was about life in Hotchkiss, Colorado, or life in Hawaii, or life in Flagstaff, about family members, about my grandfather Busty, or Grandpa and Grandma Wheeler, or Aunt Wynn. She could make anything into a great story. Even when she rode Uber for the first time to go to the store, it was just a great story. And so I'm thanking God that Aunt Trish is such a great storyteller. And I'm thanking God that Aunt Trish helped to gather people together. There always was a draw to her that when I would talk to somebody in our family, they wanted to spend time with Aunt Trish. And perhaps because she was a great listener and storyteller. And so I remember when we first started talking about having some kind of family reunion of all the descendants of Arthur and Fay Perry, her parents. She was making lots of suggestions, and when I talked to other people and said, well, Aunt Trish will be there, and Aunt Trish, you'll have a chance to talk to her, people came to that gathering in 2012 in large part to see her and to listen to her and to spend time with her. And so she gathered people together, family and friends. She was able to gather them from around the world because of her. And so I'm thanking God that she could gather people together. And I was also grateful in her last days that I was able to visit with her, to pray with her, to bring her Holy Communion, and to hear about her faith in God and resurrection in Jesus. And I'm looking forward to that great reunion in heaven when I will see her again.
We love you, Aunt Trish.
When the opportunity came to share a couple of memories of Aunt Trish, I knew what I was going to share right away. The first thing is that she was always very stylish, always so pulled together. She was very cool. In fact, when I was in my early 20s and she was in her early 80s, we drove the same type of car, so always keeping up with the young kids. The second thing is Aunt Trish had a gift. I feel like she always knew how to make everybody feel special, feel loved, and feel important. There are so many people in her life to love and care for, and she kept them all straight. She was able to pour into each of our lives and remember what was going on in our lives, ask questions, and just really make you feel special each time we visited with her. So those are my favorite memories of Aunt Trish.
I am Comfort Culver. Tricia is my aunt. In 1993, Tricia, Polly, and I were in Arivaca, and that's when we worked on the cookbook. Had lots of fun.
Hi, I am Comfort Faye Culver, daughter of Comfort Faye Fletcher Culver, and Aunt Tricia, who's really my mother's aunt, not my aunt, but I've known her as Aunt Tricia my whole life. Let me finish my doctoral in business administration when she lived with her daughter there in Phoenix. I love Aunt Tricia. She was so wonderful.
Or when I attended a party at Tricia's home in Flagstaff. I'm going to tell you, I had such a good time. She's so comfortable. She's comfortable with others. She's comfortable with herself, with her surroundings. I admire her truly.
I always enjoyed it when I saw Aunt Patricia's car, her Toyota camper, at the house. I knew my parents were going to be happy and we'd have a happy time, always when Aunt Patricia came.
Okay. One of my favorite memories of Aunt Patricia is really recent. It was a hot Kansas summer. I was sitting in my dirty clothes in my dirty house, and a strange car pulled into my driveway, and the doors flew open, and out jumped Jerry and Polly and Mary and Cindy Marie and Aunt Patricia. And they were just cruising along I-70 on their way to a quilt function in Missouri. And somebody looked at the map and said, oh, there's Baldwin City. Isn't that where Perry and Elaine live? And here they came and just showed up. It was just a wonderful surprise. And I was so thrilled to see them.
Mom Valdez knew how to cook. She knew how to be a hostess, whether it be to one or a whole gathering of families. Never did anyone visit her home without being plied with something delicious to eat and good conversation. What was impressed upon my mind was her love for family. She was the hub of her family, and she still is. Look how she's gathering us even now, pulling us toward her love with these memories. We love Thanksgivings there. We have good memories of Flagstaff and many Thanksgivings spent there. She was unflappable in all of her preparation, a little flappable at the end when everything needed to come together and be just right. She had the ability, a gift if you would, to get past someone's own awkwardness and draw them out. I was one of those. She loved us all. She was inclusive. Felt concern for her family and great love for her family. Every child, every grandchild, every great-grandchild. Rarely did I hear her complain. She was always reaching outward. There was nothing self-centered about Mom Valdez. She was always interested, always remembered what a grandchild was doing, what a child was doing. And she brought them into a conversation with others so they would also joy in that. She's left quite a legacy. And I love her.
Hello, we want to wish Mrs. Valdez a very happy birthday, and we always looked so forward to going over to the place and just being with everybody in the family, and always felt so much a part of her family. One thing I remember too that just stayed in my heart, we were all going to her house for an event, and at the front door there must have been 100 pairs of shoes. All the little kids and everybody had piled their shoes there, I guess, like they do in Hawaii. And it was just so cute to see how many loving people were at this house. And it was just kind of heartwarming to see. So we wish her a wonderful birthday, and we miss her a lot.
Well, happy birthday, Mrs. Valdez. The century mark. A lot of people don't make it. And you were very, very close. You're an amazing woman, and you told me an amazing story once that kind of set me back. You said you liked to skinny dip and did so in your pool. And you told me about it, and I thought I was going to get an invitation, but I didn't. So I left.
So happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I am Cheryl Hill Poet, and I knew Mrs. Valdez for a long time. She gave me this plant on my 90th birthday, and I've been taking care of that plant ever since. So, and then she never got to see it big like that, but every time I see that plant, I think about her, you know.
September 26th, 1978, a grand night for the Flagstaff Symphony. Our concert features the very famous Hollywood composer, conductor, pianist Carmen Dragon. Sheer Hollywood schmaltz. Wonderful stuff. But wait, from the box office, which she has managed flawlessly for so many years, emerges Madame Valdez down the aisle onto the stage, seating herself on an enormous wooden throne. She holds in her hands a vintage 1900 automobile horn with a big rubber bulb on one end. It's bigger than she is. The lights dim except for a spotlight on the symphony's newest star. Keep in mind that nobody on that stage is as well known to the audience as Madame Valdez, not even Carmen Dragon. The maestro raises his graceful Hollywood hands. Madame Valdez hoists her clunky horn, and the music begins. Come away with me, Lucille, honk honk, in my merry Oldsmobile, honk honk. The symphony debut of this new artist is a sensation. Our Patricia has stolen the show.
We're wishing her a happy 100th and she had so many wonderful dogs that it's just fitting that Thelma and Louise should wish her 100th happy birthday. And I know Greta misses her, and I know Greta's taken good care of by Cynthia, and will always remember Patricia, as we will, as our friend and the lover of animals. And let's see, she had a little white poodle that was the first one she had, that when I met her 60-some years ago. Pompey, I think his name was Pompey. And he was a little old scuffy white poodle. And from there on, she had many, many dogs and loved all of them, and they all loved her. And my girls love her too.
I remember Pat in 1982 when we invaded the Flagstaff Symphony office where she had worked for a good number of years with a computer and a printer and all the paraphernalia. Well, in an eye blink, Pat was up and running on that computer with all the data, with all the patrons and contributors. She was absolutely amazing.
I remember all the Christmas times that Patricia was anxious to make a little Christmas remembrance, an ornament or a trinket for her grands and sometimes her great-grands, just so they would remember her. She treasured her big multicultural family. It was just beyond wonderful in her mind, the warts as well as the wonders. And I'd like to think that I was a part of it for maybe 40 years. She'd talk so much about you, sometimes she'd get a sore throat. I'm sure gonna miss her.
Hi everybody, and thank you for letting me share in this special thing for Pat's birthday. I know I miss her so much. In 1992, I received Neiman Marcus Christmas catalog, and in it was a train made of gold and diamonds and rubies and sapphires, and it was selling for $100,000. I mailed it up to Pat and told her that this is what she could buy me for Christmas. Well, Christmas came, and I opened it up, and there was a Neiman Marcus box, and inside was her version of the train that she had put together. And as you can see, it has emeralds, diamonds, and rubies, and sapphires. And it's been a special part of my Christmas ever since 1992. On the bottom of the tray, she put the original, she'd glued the original ad from Neiman Marcus. She had such a wonderful knack of being so inventive and just being a delightful person. I miss her, and thank you so much for this opportunity again. Love you guys. You take care.
Hi everybody, it's Robert. You know, one of the things I remember about Pat the most is that she was really interested in all kinds of food. She loved to cook. She showed me a few things in the kitchen. She loved to swap recipes, and one of the recipes that she gave me I remember the most was this one for margarita pie. It's something I haven't made only but one time, but I plan to make it this summer, you know, with her in mind. One of the other things is that Pat was always never a newcomer to recipes, or she wasn't afraid to try new diets or things that people considered fads, and she would in fact try the low-carb, high-fat diets like the Atkins diet. She tried the all-fruit diets, the South Beach diet. She went from diet to diet. One day we were all sitting around talking about all these different things, and we were also talking about how the news just really confuses us. And I remember we were all sitting, and I think we were playing cards, and she just kind of looked up and she said, you know, I hear from day 1 to day 2 to day 3 about all these different diets. One day it's okay, I can have eggs. Next week, eggs are high in cholesterol and they're bad for you. Then the following week, the eggs are good and the coffee's bad. Then the carbs are bad and the carbs are good. She looked at me, she looked at Cynthia, and she looked at Stan, and we just stopped for a second. And right out of her mouth, in her own words, mind you, and Pat never spoke like this, she just said, I'm tired of this. I don't know what to do. I am just tired of this shit. I will eat what I want. So, those were her words, and what seemed like an eternity, we just sat there like, did she just say that? And she did. Then we started laughing. Anyway, we're going to miss you, Pat. Happy birthday. And we'll all see each other again. And it was really a blessing knowing you. And I just want to let you know, I still have the last soup you made. It's been in my freezer. And I promise I'm going to thaw it and heat it up because I'm sure it's delicious. Okay? Thanks for letting us be part of your celebration of life.
Mama Pat was, as I called her, she was like another mother to me. And I was always thankful for her advice and her words and our time spent together, laughing, knitting, crocheting, having tea, talking about our old-time families. And visiting with her was always very much like sitting in my grandmother's after Sunday dinner with the dishes all done and put away, of course, listening to she and my aunts and my mother tell stories of the family, or who knows what we were telling stories about. I will forever miss her, but am forever grateful I knew her. She had a big heart. She loved me, and I love you, Mama Pat. Happy birthday to you.